really came to life to me a few weeks ago, just recently. My wife and I, my wife Shonda, who's a tremendous woman. Is this being recorded? Can I give her that? I need to go on and on for a little bit, right? No, we have a habit. We have a great relationship and 4 children, but we've had a habit for many years. I've always asked successful couples, what's the secret of a successful marriage? And I've heard lots of different stories and lots of different answers from both men and women. Probably one of my favorites is a couple an older man that I met years ago. We were driving through a neighborhood and they were having a community yard sale, and there was this older guy that was setting up on a pickup truck. And my wife said, "Hey, can we stop? I'd like to look at a few things." And so we did. And she went off and looked at some of the yard sales, and I went over and talked to the guy. And, he was a man that was in his late 80s. And he had some tools there on the back part of his pickup truck. And so he was showing me, and some of them were brand new in boxes. I said, "Hey, don't you use these tools?" He said, "No, these were tools given to me by my kids, I don't need them any longer." So we just started having a conversation. I was enjoying the conversation with him. And pretty soon he said, "Hey, I saw your wife go over there across. I got some women's dresses in the front of my truck. Let me go get them. Maybe your wife would like one of those things." So he brings the dresses around and he tells me these are his wife's dresses. I said, "Well, does your wife know you're selling her dresses? Because you may be in trouble when you get home, And he said, "No, she passed away 6 months ago." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I said, "How long were you married?" He said, "We were married for 67 years. I said, 67 years? That's fantastic. I said, "I got to ask you, what's the secret to success?" He thought about it for a second. He said, "When she spoke up, I shut up." That was pretty good. And I thought, well, I'm not telling my wife that. That's going to, And pretty soon we just kept talking. And long story short, he talked about these tools. And he's got this cabin that he built in West Virginia. He built it from hand with some of the tools. And I said, "Well, heck, if I was you, I'd just move. I'd get out of being in Maryland, I'd get up to West Virginia and just hang out at the cabin." He said, "Yeah, I get up there every other weekend with my girlfriend." I said, "How long's your wife been gone?" He said, 6 months. I said, "Oh, you got a girlfriend?" And so anyway, I got back to the car and my wife goes, "Hey, I saw you talking to that man." She said, "Did you learn anything?" I said, "Yeah, you're going to like the first part of what I learned. The second part, you're not going to be so fond of." So I told her, I said, he said, when, lesson he learned, when she spoke up, he shut up. She said, "I like that," right? And then I said, "Well, he takes his girlfriend up to the cabin every other weekend." She looks at me and she said, "Buster, if we've been married 67 years and you've got a girlfriend 6 months after I die, just know I will come back and haunt you." So anyway, the secret of success, we had many couples, Christian couples, tell us that, there's a biblical principle that where your investment is, there's where your heart is. And they said, hey, the secret to a successful relationship and marriage is to continue to invest in your spouse and to get away. And so a few weeks ago, I decided we'd plan on the calendar. My wife and I plan it every year. We take a weekend or a week where we go away, just her and I, just so that we can continue to invest in our relationship and our love for one another. And so we went up to, I was going to plan this trip. I held back no expense. I knew this was going to be one of those special trips that we were going to remember for years. And so we went to Philadelphia. And it was just a weekend getaway. We went up to Philadelphia. We had a good time. Hey, I did get a nice hotel for her, by the way. It was a really nice thing. But while we were there, my wife says to me, she says, "Hey, let's get a Philly cheesesteak." And I said, "That sounds like a good idea. What else are you going to do in Philadelphia? You got to, of course, we go saw all the historical places, which is good to do. And we got to get a Philly cheesesteak." So I started asking people all weekend long. I said, "Hey, what's the best Philly cheesesteak in all of Philadelphia?" And everybody had different opinions and thoughts and so on and so forth. And so I just kept a record all weekend long. And then Monday, before we stayed till Monday before we left, I counted up the tally because I trust people, right? And I kept hearing, Geno's and different things. And finally, the biggest tally was a place called D'Alessandro's. Now, has anybody has been to D'Alessandro's in Philadelphia? No, is it the best Philly cheesesteak? It's good, right? It's good, right? So it's very subjective, right? So I'm not a cheesecake. I'm not a judge or all this. But if I got a number of people that tell me this is a good place to do, I guess I'm going to go. So my wife and I hop in the car, and it's about 20 minutes outside. We were in downtown Philadelphia. It took us about 20 minutes to get to D'Alessandro's. We had no idea where we were going. We ended up in this neighborhood, right? And by the time we got there, it had started raining. And so this little cheesesteak place is just on the bottom floor of somebody's house. It's a big brick house, and here's this little hole in the wall. And when we pulled up, I was so surprised that there was a line out the door for these cheesesteaks. I'm like, I can't even believe it. I said, people would stand in line for a cheesesteak? I just can't even believe it. Now, because I'm a prepared guy, I had an umbrella in my trunk. I said, baby, we got to go get in line. We drove all this way. We got to stand in line. So we're standing there. We're standing, waiting our turn. And pretty soon we get inside the door. And this place, it is the biggest dump in the world. I just hate this to be honest, but they don't even have their signs printed up. They got handwritten signs. And one of their handwritten signs is that we don't take checks or credit cards here. Only cash. Exclamation point, exclamation point. And then they had another sign that said ATM that way. And they, had a little finger pointed in another direction. I'm like, I'm a business consultant, by the way. That's a bad business model, right? But man, they must have pretty good cheesesteaks. So we stand in line and we order, and we get up there and we order. And it's like $10 a cheesesteak. It's outrageously priced. And then they say, are you going to stay here or you want it to go? And so my wife looks at me. I said, well, we got to stay here. This is a one-time event. This is a major place. It's the best cheesesteak in all of Philadelphia. And so pretty soon we waited another couple minutes, standing up, waiting. And a couple of guys get off of the counter. There's, 8 or 10 seats around the counter there. And so we sit down on the counter, and a few seconds after we sit down, the condenser unit that's running above our head starts dripping water down on my wife, Now, this is a date, by the way, we're never going to forget. I just want you to know. And so my wife politely says, hey, can I switch your seats? I said, why? She said, because I'm getting dripped on. I said, sure, baby, I got it. Let's get the umbrella. We'll put whatever, So I'm sitting next to two guys, and they're ordering some drinks. And so the waitress says, well, you can have some drinks, but we don't have any ice. So you'll have to drink it hot. And you know what they said? Okay, it sounds great. We can't wait for our cheesesteak. I'm thinking, this has got to be some good cheesesteak, right? So I asked one of the guys, I said, have you come here before? Are you regular? He said, yeah, I come 3 times a week. I said, 3 times a week? I said, do you live around the neighborhood or something? He said, no, I drive 40 minutes 3 times a week to come get my cheesesteak. I went into addiction intervention right there at the D'Alessandro's. I'm like, this guy's got an addiction to cheesesteak. I never even knew that existed, but he comes 3 times a week, drives 40 minutes to get there. Now, I got the cheesesteak. It was okay. It was, and if you're ever in Philadelphia, go to D'Alessandro's. I'm telling you, it's the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Whatever, right? So I asked the waitress, I said, you got to tell me the secret. How in the world are you getting all these people to come in here, and you got a guy that's willing to drive here 3 times a week to get his cheesesteak 40 minutes one way? And she simply looks at me with confidence. She said, I've been here 27 years. And she said, here's the secret sauce. We have the best steak. We know how to cut it. And we love our customers and treat them like their family. Now think about that just for a second. We have the best steak. We know how to cut it, how to use it. And we treat our customers like their family.